Hey, happy new month. It is August 2021, and I welcome you to this month's live Q&A. And I'm hoping that I find you well. It is not, it's just a month, really. I haven't had an opportunity to ask how you are doing. And so I do just that. I hope you're well. I hope your family is well. And I hope that you're gradually getting into the mood of summer finishing because it's been a quick summer. Very soon we're in September, and of course, folks go back to school, and you have the young ones going back to school. So it's I don't know. The season that we're in, I'm not sure whether we've made the most of it. Yes, COVID is still around and about, but I'm sensing that people are getting on and kind of moving on with life and just being sensible. And that's a wise thing. We just want people to be sensible, to be considerate. We will always push that happens. We should not be irresponsible. And so we continue doing what we do as a community, as a clinic. We continue to put information out there that will help us parents and some of us guardians to guide our young ones as they continue this journey. Needless to say, they've been quite busy these last few weeks. I believe it's 6 weeks, and that they've enjoyed themselves, I hope, throughout the weeks. And of course, you've had opportunities, I hope, also to go through the portal and learn learn how to usher these lovely children as they engage on the internet. I did mention that there's an opportunity for those of you who have nagging questions. As we do each live Q&A, we receive questions prior, and I'll address some of those. That's what's informed the topic again. We're here again, trending scams. They are increasing in frequency, and we've got to mention it. I think the clinic released a video the last 2 weeks highlighting some of those scams, and so we would try and re-educate and help you learn how to avoid this. And of course, if you're receiving these scams or scam messages as a parent, needless to say, if your young ones have a phone, it'd be interesting to know what they do with those, what we call smishes, scam text messages. So it's important that we discuss this and make it as full on as possible. And that can only be a good thing. And by good thing, I mean it just makes it important that we are, doing something about it. Just looking to see if people are on. I can't see anybody yet. And we've already done 4 minutes. Shame on you all. Yeah, so it's important that we, get this going. Because this live Q&A is being obviously recorded, it doesn't stop me from sharing and teaching, because you have an opportunity to go back and, go over the material. And so I'm not going to pause. I'm just going to acknowledge when people do drop by, and so that I can welcome them. Yeah, now they're dropping in as if they're hearing me. This time I'm not even sending a text message, but people are dropping in. Welcome. And please, if you're sending in a question, put a Q before your question. If you're just saying hello, just type away. But to allow me search out your questions, please put a Q before your question. Okay. All right. So we're talking about trending scams. Trending scams. And it's important that we highlight it. I'll give us some basics. You know, I've talked about, actually, it's now become quite boring. I've talked about smishing, I've talked about vishing, and I've talked about phishing. These are all modes of scams or defrauding attempts by rogues. And they don't just, they're not, what's the word now? They're not colorblind or color specific, age specific. No, they just attack anybody. And so your children are as vulnerable as you are. And so we've got to be talking about them. Vishing is using a phone to try and defraud you, to try and deceive you. You get a phone call from a rogue. That's what I call them, a rogue. And the rogue tells you of stuff that is supposed to be exciting, too good to be true, and you fall for it. That's a vish. They're using a phone call to deceive you. And of course, you have the smishing, which we're also talking about. And the smishing is using SMS, using a text message to try and defraud you too. These things are happening. Do you understand? So we've got to be aware. Smishing, text message, vishing, phone call. And then you have phishing, which is one that's been out for a long time. And that's defrauding or deceiving you using an email. All the contents of, apart from the voice version, which is vishing, they all are trying to deceive you. Present you with a too good to be true deal, and then the attempt or the design is to try and get personal information off you. And if you're too eager and not, alert, you fall for it. That's where we come in. We bridge that gap and make sure that you are aware of what smishing, what vishing, and what phishing really mean. Today, we're dealing with some SMS scams, the smishes that are falling into our, inboxes, and what we should do with them, what we shouldn't do with them, and what we must do to help our young ones, not fall foul for these rogues. They have nothing good to do for you. Nothing. In fact, I believe unsolicited messages into your inbox to a large extent is illegal. But you don't know, you will not, know what to do. And so we always inform, we always educate, okay? And there are features on our phones that will allow us avoid these things. And we're not also paying attention to those. So I am passionate, the platform, the community, the clinic, we're passionate to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Hence, we make time each month, an hour, kind of debating whether an hour is too much, but I'm here. We're here to take your messages. We're here to take your questions. And the idea there is to further inform you. The portal itself has a lot of videos, and we've tried to categorize them by creating playlists. So you just go to a playlist and have a browse. We'll define that or refine that somewhat in the coming weeks and months, okay? So that you know exactly where to go. But ultimately, we have a section that will allow parents go, hide away, and educate themselves, okay? All right, so we go back to the topic at hand, the trending scams, okay? What do you do? How do you know that you have received a smish? You know that you've received a smish if you did not ask for it. Ultimately, we have text messages coming in from our contacts, people that we have implicitly created, a list, a contact in your phone. And if you receive a message from them, happy days. But these smishes, they drop in from people who you don't know from numbers you don't have in your contact list. Some SMS messages that drop in can be legit. Someone who has received your phone number and has not really, gotten into your contact list yet. So there's some legitimate text messages that come into your inbox, but there's some that you have no clue where they're from. The person has not identified him or herself, and they're quite frontal. They're very aggressive, asking you to do this before a deadline expires. And if we are not educated, we react in different ways to those messages. And so most of the messages that come unsolicited are intended to defraud you, to get at your personal information. And you need to know that you don't have to pass that information. It's personal after all, okay? And so we try as best as we can to educate you and make sure that you know this. And then that means you treat your phone, a lot more responsibly. If you do it, needless to say, those connected to you would do it, particularly, as we keep saying, your young ones. Some of them now have phones and they're receiving messages. If you've not trained them, then they don't know what to do and they fall foul. And we want that to be avoided. I'll share a few SMS trends or scam messages that I've received, so that you may have received it and not know. And then perhaps there's some of you who have actually received it and done something about it, and you now don't know what harm you've brought into your phone. So pay attention as I would go through. I want to acknowledge those who've just dropped in. I see Eddie Boogie, and you can see him there. Let me push this up so that you can see it. Edward, hi, how are you? He says there's a PayPal scam currently, he says, which he has found. Let's see, let me put it back there. There's a PayPal scam currently, which I have found two-step verification has resolved, but I was seeing attempted login attempts in my emails. Yeah. Okay, so that's that's from Ed. And I think we shared this. Hi, Zach, how are you? My main man. Yeah, please represent, okay? Zachary says, as you can see, he says, good afternoon, everyone. So if you're just dropping in, Zach says, hi. Zach, God bless you. I trust you're well, okay? Yeah, gradually we'll get there. The key people, my people. Ed, needless to say, enough said, as you say. Okay, so we have Ed's question, and I think it's crucial that we address it. I mentioned that the platform, and this was, I think, 2 videos ago or 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that the clinic sincerely promotes multi-factor authentication, or two-way or two-form of two-factor authentication. These are, as I mentioned in the video, secondary modes or ways to help verify who you are by what you have, okay? Passwords typically are used to verify who you are by what you know. The secondary mode, which is the multi-factor authentication, helps verify who you are by what you have. That's vitally different. What you know and what you have. What you know, a password. What you have, your phone. And so in the past, it was just okay to have or use the information that you know, which is a password. Rogues have since been able to crack passwords. So to make it difficult for them, multi-factor authentication was introduced. And needless to say, many of you who are online doing your banking have been offered an opportunity to activate multi-factor authentication. We have pushed, we have begged. Please enable it, activate it, so that anytime you log on to your banking portal with your username information you know, it triggers an SMS to be sent to your phone, something you have, and on the strength of those two, you are allowed access into your portal. The rogue, it will be incredibly difficult for the rogue to have both items, information you know and information you, or rather things you have, or a thing you have, like a phone. And so it's a a no-brainer. Just do it. Now, Ed's question, which you can see, makes a lot of sense because he's saying that let's go back to his question. There's a PayPal scam currently which he has found two-step or multi-factor authentication has resolved, and by that he means if he didn't have MFA, I'm going to shorten it because it's just a mouthful. If he didn't have multi-factor authentication, the rogue attempts he mentions further down, the attempted login attempts in his email, would suggest that someone has tried just the username and password approach. And of course, because he's enabled multi-factor authentication, when they've attempted to get in just using username and password, it has failed. Rather, it's triggered a text message with a code, which the rogue doesn't have, and they've aborted the attempt to defraud. And that's exactly why it's important to do the MFA or the two-factor authentication activation. It's important, okay? Yes, so Edward, thank you for that feedback. At times, those testimonies help because it does work. Ed has just confirmed it's worked. Now, Ed, I would advise, like I mentioned in the other video, that the fact that you've seen those two login attempts, okay, in your email address would mean that someone has your username and password. So like I said in the other video, which those who are watching it on replay, just click on the info card. Change your passwords. Change your passwords on all platforms because someone has your username and password, okay? So if you needed any incentive to change your passwords, this is it. Change your passwords. And of course, don't go crazy. Try and make them strong, but make them also passwords you can remember. We've shared videos on how you can take that approach, or take an approach that will help you remember. You're not locking yourself out unnecessarily, okay? So change your passwords. You've confirmed MFA works, but you've also confirmed to me that your passwords need changing because someone has them, okay? Good stuff, good stuff. All right, let's see. Yeah, we still have more people. Yeah, so I said, for those of you who are just arriving, if you have questions, please put a question in front of your comment so that I can identify them as questions and be able to go through them, okay? Good stuff, good stuff. Let's see. What do we do here? Yeah, so okay, while I'm waiting for questions to drop in, and I will want, we talk about, this is an issue. Let me just make this very clear. There's an issue that I'm finding around our platform. We've it would appear many think that this is targeting children. And by children, I mean perhaps people from 14 down. And as much as I want to say yes to that, I also know that there are people who are older, 14 and up, who are actually not as savvy as they think about internet matters. And so I believe that teenagers, young adults will sincerely benefit from engaging on this platform. And that's why, for me, having the likes of Ed, who is obviously an adult in his own right, I believe that feedback like that he has given us will bless the community. And he may bring an insight from how young adults, do, how they do their things. And so it's important that you tell your adult friends to be a part of this community. And that's the only way we're going to grow. Yes, parents who are on the platform already are gaining information that they're using to train their under 13 or under 14-year-old young ones. But there's a lot more we can do. Stretch it out and get our young adults involved, okay? So make noise about the platform, get them involved, and so that they bring a different demographic, and if you like, a different dynamic to what we're doing already. We want to know, because don't forget, the 14-year-olds and lower are growing northwards. They're going to get older. And so let's prepare them for what they would engage, when they get older. And you are in the best place, young adult, you're in the best place to do that. So please make noise and get your friends on board. This is not just for children, parents, and guardians. It is for young adults, okay? So make boast, make noise, okay? So we're talking about trending scams. I spoke about the multi-factor authentication scam that many are seeing in their, in their inboxes, where someone is telling you to forward a code that you've just received. And just thinking about it again, I know I was somewhat alarmed last time I mentioned it, but it is frightening that in 2021, someone would just send you a text message, unsolicited, send you the text message and ask you to forward a code you've just received to this address. And you go through all the trouble to get the text to the person, because at the end of it, they've promised that you will get a prize, or you get this, you get that. And it is incredibly, tempting. But please, it is too good to be true. All those things that you see, too good to be true. And hence, you question it. Question it. Don't fall for it. But people were falling for it. People were texting the codes. And like I've broken down, MFA, you try username and password, a text message with a code is sent, and you respond. And when you respond, you gain access. If the rogue that has your information does the same, and you are now forwarding it to them, you are allowing them access your accounts, especially your banking portals. And that's just frightening to think of. So please be aware. Those are the sort of alerts that were dropping in my inbox. And there's this other one, which I won't say it's an SMS scam or a smish like I explained. I would say it's more like a vish, which is a phone call. I've received a phone call. In fact, I received several in the week. Where an automated voice tells me that my Amazon account is about to be renewed. And I can tell you that Amazon don't operate that way. Amazon will operate by either sending you an email, you see all the information, it's from them. You're not going to get an automated message telling you that it's about to renew, and if you want it to happen, text this or call this number. All that is supposed to pull you in, trick you into doing something that you ought not to do. And that is one that I get quite often, okay? And I know that some of you have experiences where you have these things come in also. And what we're trying to get you to do is to question. Just question it. There can't be any harm in questioning. How long would it take? Max 5 minutes. Why am I receiving this? Is this legit? Should I respond? You make an informed decision. And that's what we're doing. Training you so that you can make those decisions, okay? Excuse me, I've got a question. Let me put it in. Let's see. Let me see if I can get it there. Okay, so on browsers such as Chrome, you have extensions on the browsers such as AdBlock. However, there are some extensions that act as viruses such as ChillTab. How can we tell the difference, real and fake? Yeah, Zach, good question, beautiful question. Typically, you only know this by, let me see. Okay, I have an approach to answer the question, but it's a brilliant question, all right? The question I will ask you, not that I love doing that, answering a question with a question, is, in fact, I'm not going to ask you a question, but I'm making an assumption that you've only learned that ChillTab is rogue. Okay, let me see. Let me just make sure I get this right. Okay, so you have ChillTab that you've mentioned is more than likely a malware-driven ad blocker. Okay, that's because the information is out there. Reviews have been done about this. Okay, now if you are installing an ad blocker, if you're installing any extension on your Chrome browser, Edge, Safari, it must be reputable. Okay, ad blockers have to be reputable, and there's so many third-party plugins or extensions that exist, but I find that associating yourself with reputable ones, for example, the anti-malware or antivirus solutions you have, like Norton, Custodio, McAfee, all those compact with ad blockers. They, in their own rights, they have their own filters that help do the same thing those ad blockers would do. I generally, it would take me a lot to install just any ad blocker. It has to be reputable, one that I have contact with, one that I can chat with, go to their website, I can do a chat, and indeed one that I pay for. I know that's not not very popular, but I'll often install extensions that I pay for, because paying for it, not always, but most times when you pay for a service, you get what you pay for. Okay, so you do your research. That's where I'm going. Do your research. You find that there are reputable vendors out there that produce these extensions that will help filter the filth from our internet experience. Okay, and that's the only way, Zach. I know that it seems general. I've not really given you a specific answer, but ultimately, you are able to do it if you do your research. We promote, looking at reviews. Those things help. If you look at reviews, they help you make informed decisions, because someone more than likely has has made noise. Wow, that's just off. Has made noise about the rogue attempt that a supposed extension or ad blocker has done, and just on the strength of that, it's enough to flee from them. Okay, so yes, good question, Zachary. Good question. Still waiting for more. Let's see. Wow, you guys are already in the UK. Here we have Monday as a bank holiday, so many are treating this as a long holiday. Needless to say, possibly my platform, the platform, is not the place they want to be at. But hey, that's why we record it. You can go back and watch it. Okay? Yeah, Zachary has come back and he has said, let's see what Zachary said. Laziness leads to vulnerability. Absolutely, son. Absolutely. We have to work harder than the rogues. That's it. That's it. That's it. Laziness. And if someone says you're lazy, that person is not insulting you. Well, it depends on how you say it, but ultimately, if someone says you're lazy, there's something they're seeing you're not doing, and it's just an English word, but say it with respect and love. Okay. But laziness. And we're not paying attention. We're just, there's an ad blocker, it's going to do this, boom, 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 and you've just installed malware. Now, malware could do a lot of damage because you were not paying attention. Okay. So we want you to pay attention. We want you to be on the ball. All right? Good stuff. So Zachary, thank you again for that question. So we're still talking about trending scams. Scams in general are just a nuisance. I was reading, let me just see. I was reading some stuff. What happens when you receive a spam text, or what we've referred to as a smish? Don't reply. Do not reply. Unsolicited text messages, do not reply. And do not click on any link in an unsolicited text message. I would even add that you should not just click text messages you're not sure where they'll take you to. And you can tell if you hover the mouse over the link, it will more than likely give you some information you will not get by just looking at the link. And you kind of know whether it's taking you to a rogue site, if it's all very coded and all that. But I would say, when you suspect, when in doubt, do not click. And certainly do not reply to unsolicited text messages. Okay? Good stuff. So I said that also that your phone has features that you can enable, where you can block numbers. So if you receive a text message from someone you don't identify or know, you can right click over the message or the name and block it. And I know that some of these rogues will keep evolving. So they'll send it from this phone number this day and send it from another. Well, you know what? To keep them out, you just have to keep doing it. Zach mentioned it. We've got to stay on top of them. Let me just put his message. It's not just me. He says we have to work harder than the rogues. Yes, the rogues work very hard to be a nuisance to you. So you are now working harder to make sure that they're not a nuisance. If you had money in a bank account, you're not just going to leave your card anywhere. You're going to put your card in a wallet. You're going to put the wallet in the pocket. You're going to put the pocket or the trouser away when you're not using it. You're not just going to leave it for everyone to see. Okay? So due diligence, virtue it is. All right? Okay. Let's see. Come on, guys. More questions. Yeah, so we're still talking about trending scams. All right. What are the typical ones? Let me just see. Well, gone are the days where we always talked about these phishing messages you get via email, phishing email, where someone is telling you that someone in their family is sick, and that we know that you're a believer, you're a Christian, you're a good person. Hence, we're reaching out to you to ask you for help. Nothing is too small and nothing is too big. And we just want you to assist. Here is the account details that you can use to do ABCD. And the person signs off and saying that you're a very kind person. So they walk you up. And you, a kind person, a lovely person, a giver, may fall for it. But those are very old. I must say, those sort of phishing attempts are quite old. But you don't know who has read what's happening in the past or what has happened in the past. Hence, we still talk about them. So having those come, as true as some of them may be, you don't know those people. And so rather than give it to people who are using phishing or SMS or or which is smishing or vishing, look for charities that you would want to associate with, where you can give that money to. Okay? Unfortunately, that's just the way things are. Let it be streamlined. Let it be clean. Let it be the way it ought to be. And it's so difficult to tell which are the good ones and which are the bad. So you've got to be careful. Absolutely careful. Okay? Let's see. So another question has come in. Let me get this on the screen. And thank you for keeping us busy, Zach. Social media platforms sometimes ask us about what we are interested in, either to recommend new content or personalize ads. Is this always safe? Answer is no. Answer is no. If they're paying you, there's some, and this is not. I'm not joking. If you're getting no money, not getting any reward, you have no business helping them achieve their own targets or goals. Okay. Yes, for ease of use, for user friendliness, and a very smooth internet experience, browsing experience. Yes, if you tick yes to a lot of those things, your experience will be seamless. Oh, I didn't know. How did they know that I needed or that I like this cologne or I like that? It's because of the information you're putting in, and you've put a tick that they can do that. And so I frown at it. Really, if you want something, you want to buy tools, you go to B&Q, go to their site. Just go to their website, okay? Yeah, it's painful, it's a bit manual, but yeah, you just go to their website. You want to buy something from Amazon, you go to Amazon, all right? Allowing the computer assist you by, if you said this many years ago, beautiful thing it is, but unfortunately, it's getting abused. And so you even get some ads that you've not asked for, okay? And that's where the nuisance comes in. So it's not always safe. It's not always safe because to get them serving you these ads, you have to open up your system. And by opening up, I mean you're going to have to allow some things. You get a message saying, do you allow this? Do you accept this? And you have to accept a lot of things to allow those ads come to you. And so I frown at it, and that's why there are videos again in the playlist, in the info card that you can go through, where periodically, I would say monthly, clear your cookies, cookie data, whatever it is. Just clear your browsing information. Don't do the passwords, because that can be a nuisance doing it. If you have been compromised, however, clean the whole thing. So clear browsing data and password, browsing history, all of it. Like Edward mentioned, he got emails showing that people were attempting to log on to a portal. In that case, Edward, you clear the whole thing. Clear your browsing data, your passwords and all that, because they're stored. And storing it in a cache, you do have malware that can retrieve that information from cache and do harm to you. So clearing it all periodically and immediately, if you've had that experience, is a recommendation from the platform. Okay, and so I would say periodically, Zach, and in your own case monthly, clear your browsing data. All right, and that way, if you do, all the people who you've said allow, that goes away, and you have to redo it. Okay, and if you redo it, you now do it sensibly. If you really want a particular vendor to, chase you or follow you, then you say yes, because you don't mind them doing that. But don't say allow to everything. That way everybody knows what you want, and then it becomes quite bogus and too full on. All right. So I would say, to your question, it's not always safe. That sometimes it's warranted, But most times, in my experience, it's best that you are the one managing where you go and what you want served to you. Okay? So we've got to be in control. We come back to the control thing. We have to be in control. All right? Good stuff. Good stuff. Good question. Yeah, good question. Many of your friends will benefit from that. And that's the thing. People just feel they know, you know? And we have to, on the platform, tell you, you may know, but you don't know all. Okay? And so we really try to get you informed. Okay? Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. All right. Where do we go? Okay, let me move away from the questions for a second. Go back to trending scams. Yes. So we know of the Amazon scam. We know of the MFA scam. A video that's doing very well on the platform is the one that we kind of highlighted about the National Criminal Agency, NCA. You get messages from a text message saying they have information about you, blah, 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 blah. If you don't do something about it, you'll be taken to prison, taken to court, and panic. The video is doing very well. If you look at the info card in the playlist, you also have an opportunity to look at that and get information. But SMSs are the ones that are really, for me, I think the SMSs are the ones that are of a concern. You know, before it wasn't quite a problem because the vendor being the carrier, assisted. Yes, unfortunately, we have to work hard and harder to be on top of this. And one way to do that, as I've mentioned already, is to block numbers that you don't recognize. And that will take that nuisance away. There are also websites you could go to, or phone numbers that are out there that you can call and report these people. Okay? I think O2EE have a phone number. I'll put it in the description that you can report scam attempts, SMS, defrauding messages. You can just send those numbers and they build up a database of these rogues, and that will help fine-tune what's able to come in. That's the only way. You know, we have to send the information to these carriers, and they will build a robust database that helps filter them out. Okay, but there's a lot of help. If you're in doubt and you can't find the information on Google, please call your vendor. Call O2, call EE, and tell them that you are being attacked by SMS, rogue messages, phone calls, and all that. And once you tell them, they will request some information, usually either the text message or the phone number. In many cases, also the email addresses if it's a phish. So it's important that we do that, okay? And help. Don't think the vendor can do it all on their own. At times you may block a number, the rogue will go and use another number. How do you cater for that? And so they're able, because investigations go on, they're able to create a trail, and there will be some similarities, and that magic, I call it, helps filter this nonsense out from our systems. Okay, systems mean phones, tablets, and email accounts. Okay, let's see if there's any more. Well, that's all I'm getting. So there are no questions coming in. No more questions coming in. So what do we cover? So basically, we've mentioned that it's important that you don't respond to text messages that you have received unsolicited. That's important. Don't open links. Make sure that if you have actually responded to these text messages, or you've clicked on the link, then without fail, immediately change your passwords on all platforms. And if you want to go a step further, make sure that what you're using to browse the internet, which would be Microsoft Edge. If you still have Microsoft Internet Explorer, that's also a browsing tool, a browsing engine. Then you have Safari and you have Google Chrome. These are, the common browsers that are out there, and hence you have to clear your browsing history, clear your cache. If your passwords have been compromised, then you have to also delete your passwords. I must say that you have to recreate them, especially for banking, but that's worth it because no one can get your information. By all means, once that has happened, don't store your passwords in cache. Don't because that's all ease of use, and if you do that, malware gets installed. Some malware will be able to get that information from cache. So what was aimed to help you browse seamlessly becomes a problem for you, So in general, I don't store any of my sensitive site data or information, login information especially, in my browser. I don't. So every time I log in to my banking portal, I have to type it out manually, painfully, or rather painful, but that's what it takes. Remember Zach said, work harder than the rogue. And that's what it takes, okay? Work harder than the rogue. Because then, believe me, at times I'm sure we say things like, where do these people have all the time? They make the time. To get to the place where we are, where our passwords in general are no longer as effective as they were many years ago, because someone has put in the time to learn how to crack your password. The passwords are no longer efficient on their own. They need help, multi-factor authentication, all right? And the only reason why we are where we are is because the rogue puts in the time. We're simply saying we have to put in more time. So the rogue gains on us, we have to inform ourselves and learn some more. And it's only when we do that we're always ahead of the rogue, okay? And we have to be. It seems messy, but hey, it's what we have to do. If you've had thieves come into your house or your neighbor's house, what you may see as overkill will not be overkill if you get an alarm. You install an alarm, and that alarm will help you know when people are coming too close to your house. From there, you build it up. You get a camera installed. Then you can see them. All that due diligence in your house has to translate, or you move that same effort to your internet journey. The internet is a domain, okay? Many of us live on the internet. And so it's important that if we live on the internet, that we've got to be safe. And so the equivalent of having a camera installed, an alarm installed, is the effort that you're putting in to keep these, I don't know whether there's any other name for them, but to keep the rogue out, you've got to work hard, okay? And so nothing you do on the internet to safeguard you and your family is ever a waste, okay? Okay, still waiting. Who is going to save us? Do we have one more question? No, we don't. Usually I don't, and I try, but because we always tell people it's an hour, there's some people that may just come 10 minutes at a time and come and ask a very vital question. Hence the reason why we keep it open. And so even though it would appear that I'm waiting because it just takes one question coming, and that will be the question that someone was dying to hear. Okay? But we've got to do these things. Another way to keep the rogues out, to make sure that our information is not out there, is to tread carefully. The internet is a dungeon. Keep your private information private, and if it has to be public, don't know why it has to be, but if it has to be, just put things out there that you would not, cry for if it's out there. If it's out there, a bit like there's some information that's out there. I went to University of blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Many people knew I went there. But what you did there must be private, you just can't put out information that while you were in university, you did this. No, who needs to know that? You just went to the university and you got a degree. End of story. Okay? You may even go further and say, I was in this year, that year, But we've got to be very, intelligent about what we put out there. What information, really, do we need to put out there? Okay? More questions. I did actually want someone to drop in and we would give an interview. By interview, I mean we speak live on air. But these days, I just generally don't think people are too keen to be seen on camera. But in the coming months, I hope we can bring, and I think I mentioned this, can't remember now, but yeah, when we came back from a break, that I want us to get to a place where we can have, just like the testimony that Edward gave at the beginning, about, and I'll put it here for those who are just coming, where he says that he was getting emails dropping in, confirming that people were attempting, a rogue was attempting to bypass his security. That's good to know, but imagine someone telling you that also live may have a stronger impact, I think, and so we generally will want to get those who are bold, and I believe you are all bold, to drop in. We can't do it today. If you did want to do it, I think next month, or it could be even during the week, it's not off limits. I'll generally send a link that you can click on that will just bring you into the broadcast, the live broadcast, and we can do it that way. So let's plan for next month. So the end of September, we will have an opportunity with a link to come into the broadcast and tell us how you're doing, with all this, diligent approach to internet safety. It's important that others can see it work and that I'm not just telling them. I certainly don't want to always just tell you that things are working. Give us proof. Edward has given us proof. And I know that there are many other beneficiaries of what we do here on this platform. So the more we tell others, the better it will be. Okay? Yeah. We have a few minutes to go. What could I do now? We only wanted to talk about scams. Just be on the alert. Okay? Be on the alert. No need to talk about COVID scams anymore because there's a video. COVID scams had its time. I know that there's some sort of resurgence, but COVID scams are COVID scams. It's just it's not tasty at all. In fact, it's not humane to play with that sort of stuff. And so if you receive a text message about, vaccines, come and get your vaccination here, all those things are rogue. And so we've got to run away from them. If it's not from Public Health England or from the NHS, it is rogue. Okay? No matter how well intended they are, go to the legit, the official sources. Gov.uk usually is a good giveaway here in the UK. But don't, yeah. So those, you'll see those. They're still coming in. If you see them, just put them in your spam and delete them. Accordingly, don't click on any links. Avoid them. Avoid the phone calls, the wishes, as we call them. Avoid those too. Telling you about vaccines and testing centers that you can get cheaper rates. All rogue. Go to the official vendor. If you don't know who they are, research it. Go to Google and research official vendors for this, official vendors for that. And in the results, you make an informed decision. Not the links, not any of that, especially as it's unsolicited. You've not asked for it. And so it has no business coming in to you. Another thing that we get to find, and I'll end on this, is when we receive those text messages, either via normal SMS, iMessage, or even WhatsApp, in there, they'll tell you forward it on to inform your friends and family. Do not forward it on. So if you're not clicking the link, why are you forwarding the message on? Okay? So don't forward the message on. And they say do it to 2 or 3 people and you start some sort of train. No, don't do that. That does get my head really hot. Don't forward messages on when you're directed to forward messages on. Why should someone tell you to forward it on? You've got to make a decision. Do you want to forward it on? And if there are links in there, you take responsibility for those links, especially links. If it's just a normal text message without links and all that, and someone begs you to forward it on, then that's your decision. But if it has links that you've not tested, you don't forward them on. Because all you're doing is passing the nasties across platform. And that's very, very irresponsible, okay? And that's not to be harsh or too hard on you. Just don't do it. Simple advice, right? Don't do it. Okay. All right, so we've approached the end. Let's see. Oh, there is a question. Okay. Let me see if I can get it in. Regarding GoFundMe's and other donation pages, how do we balance out trying to be good, generous people and not wanting to fall victim to fraud? Well, GoFundMe is actually somewhat legit. In fact, it is legit. And you have an opportunity to get the messages. Zach, again, you've asked a brilliant question. You have the opportunity to read a brief narrative of what the person is about to do, okay? So the GoFundMe link will be a legitimate link, but it's whether you want to associate with the narrative. So if someone comes and tells you that I'm doing some sort of charitable work for something you don't align with, either spiritually, emotionally, or otherwise, then going to the GoFundMe it's a no-brainer. You don't go. But if the person, first and foremost, is someone you know, don't forget we talked about unsolicited and solicited. If you don't know the person and the person is reaching out with a GoFundMe, then you've got to make a decision. If it's something you want to associate with, then break a leg. If it's not, then you quietly pull back, all right? But again, with enough research, you will know what is legit and what is not. And it shouldn't, people's attempt to defraud us should not change who we are. We're generous people, we're givers, we're nice people. But what I'm saying is so that we can weed the chaff from the good, we've got to do our research. We've got to do the due diligence. Don't just respond, all right? If you hover over the GoFundMe link, you will know that it's going to take you to a legitimate place. So where you're going to donate money is legit, but it's what the person is fighting for, what the brief is, that you may have to do your research on, okay? So it's important, absolutely important that we are doing our research, doing our reviews, but it shouldn't change who we are. All right. And last comment, he did ask. Okay, Zach, I just saw that. Sorry. I hope I've answered your question. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. I think I've answered your question now, and let's see if I've got no more questions. And we have reached the end of the show. Oh, goes, you guys have been great. Those who have been with me, who have helped this sort of go along, I treasure you no end. And I ask that you remain in contact. If you're now my favorite go-to person or people, that's what it is. I treasure you. So Zach and Ed, thank you for your questions. The others who have been shy, perhaps next month you will receive an anointing of boldness. I'm also, because I'm hoping that some of you will join the live show and just come. I'll bring you into the broadcast. I'll send the link on the day or days before that kicks off. But I'm so happy that you've made time. We do take these things seriously, and I hope that your time with me is not time that you've not spent well. Okay. And so we give our audience, we give members of the community, and those who are just dropping by an opportunity each time to be a part of this community. And you do that by subscribing. Consider subscribing if this all feels good to you, and you can help grow the platform accordingly. And of course, we want you to like the content if it's been of benefit to you. Needless to say, we want you to share this with your family and friends. Remember that it's not just the young folk 13 years and down. We've extended it. We want you to tell your elder brothers, your elder children, your adult children, okay? It's for them. We want to train everybody and be a blessing as we do, okay? And so I would covet that you make enough noise about the platform, all right? Until next week, I remain your host, Lawrence Edem. God bless and goodbye.